got one more session before break.
And I guess that leads me on nicely to the first bit of let the panellists introduce themselves.
So I'm Sharon Slinger. I'm Director of Constructing Rainbows, which is a equity, diversity and inclusion consultancy. I focus on the built environment. My background is construction and FM. And I'm also founder of LGBT Plus in FM, which is an LGBT network, collaborative network across the industry.
I'm Lucy Jeans. I'm up here because I'll be summing up later, and in the meantime I'm taking lots of notes so that I can pull out the essence of each one of those presentations that we've heard today. I'm from Larch Consulting. We're an FM strategy and advisory consultancy.
Louis, for anyone that missed you this morning?
I'm Louis, and I am a workplace inclusion and accessibility consultant, really helping organizations understand the nuances of disability and how that is impacted by the digital space as well as the physical space. But I'm also known as the unstoppable crazy cripple because I like to ruffle feathers and tell people, I'm not afraid to tell people that they're doing a crap job. And this is how you can fix it.
Martin, the man, the myth, the legend.
Anyone doesn't know me, Martin Pickard. I'm been working in Edinburgh for over 50 years. Now working from home, challenging the question that everybody wants to get back to the office. Some of us don't. And you know, I've been chatting with the online people today.
Cool, thanks. So I guess let's start with you, Martin. From what you've seen and heard this morning, what excites you the most and what terrifies you the most?
Oh. I can get it from both the technology presentation. I thought the technology presentation was the best promise of something that would, an application of this that would really, really improve things and be a game changer for the way we do security. But at the same time, it's also the perfect example of the thing, one of the many things that worry me about the way we're implementing AI, because spotting unusual behaviour would spot Lewis and say, this is unusual behaviour. It would spot me because I don't walk straight and I wobble a bit. It's all about what happens when the unusual behaviour occurs. If you do it in an interview, you don't get the job. If you do it walking through a shopping mall, you're going to trigger an alarm. It's going to send the SWAT squad. Those are the things that worry me.
Yeah. And on unusual behaviour, I'm going to ask Sharon, because you're from Leeds. What? I'm in Sheffield, everyone, so little Yorkshire rivalry there. What are your thoughts around that unusual behaviours in the workplace?
Yeah, I mean, when listening to Andy's speech, my heart just dropped, and I could actually feel churning in my stomach when he was talking about the CFO that had been duped by the board members. And actually, it's something that's come up at home, because I've heard of with kids being replicated, and we're saying, actually, do we need a code word that we have to make sure that we know it's each other? I think, if we couldn't have some kind of, I was also looking at the kind of the unusual behaviours thing and thinking, that's all well and good, but it's going to mean that we're spied on all the time, and actually we need some of that freedom. And is it really worth it? And I would say, Elon Musk, I won't ever agree with him on anything, but we do need those controls. It's something that I'd really like to see.
Yeah. Lucy, anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, I loved that presentation. I thought it was really interesting, the uncanny valley idea about, how good are we going to be at spotting when something is a fake. That is a real concern, isn't it?
Yeah.
And will we actually change our definition of what is fake? I can remember one of my children asking me when they were little, they were looking at orange juice and saying, it says it's made of real oranges. What other kind of oranges are there? And it starts to make you think, doesn't it? You know, if we're getting a data model that's been developed by AI, that doesn't mean it's not real, does it? So that line might blur in the same way as that whole Will Smith eating pasta thing wouldn't blur. If you want to look at really weird AI, look at ballet on AI. Because when AI develops ballet dancers, they'll suddenly sort of sprout an additional limb. It's really disturbing. It hasn't managed to capture that at all. But I think some of the other things that I was looking at for my summing up are things like, what business problem are we trying to solve? I'm one of the judges for their technology award that we'll be looking at straight after lunch. And one of the things that we often see in those entries is, here's a cool thing. You think, yeah, that's great. You know, why would this be useful? What are we solving? So I think to kind of nail it back down to what we're looking at as an industry, which according to Bhaskar is in a state of absolute collapse and identity crisis. What a doomer. Where is he? But there are some good questions there, aren't there? In terms of how are we going to use AI as our co-pilot, and we were talking about how it's going to sit beside us and we're going to make the decisions and it's going to be a co-driver. But actually then we've talked about some of the uses of technology where it is going to determine what we should do next and start to give us instructions. And so that's a kind of crossing of a line somewhere, isn't it?
Yeah.
Where we're saying, rather than help me with this, what should I do now? I'm looking at your decision tree, AI.
Yeah.
How well is that going to work for us?
Yeah. And Louis, I've got a question for you. So, as you spent 612 hours learning ChatGPT, I think when I first met you, it was about 300 and odd hours. So, well done, great effort there. It's a couple of years ago now. The question for you is, you go into organisations and you're helping them understand their inaccessibility and bias in that organisation. And we're now replicating the same societal issues in AI. Do you think it's going to be easier to train the AI or the people?
Wow. Well, I think we're going to have to train the people because they are the ones who build the AI, so that they can train the AI. I think the challenge we have, I think the ballet is a great example. I would invite people to try and ask it to create an image of a power wheelchair user on a 6-wheel based wheelchair and see what that puts out for you. But I think that there's still a lot of positive that AI brings to the picture. I think clarifying the definition of unusual is going to be important. As Martin said, I would be definitely classified as unusual. But I'm very hopeful, just what we've heard from today, when we apply it in the right way, by the right people, it can really be an amazing tool that can be wielded to make our lives easier.
Yeah, because if identifying us as unusual means that the adaptations that we need to our workplace will come automatically, that's a good thing, yeah?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. What do you guys think? Do you think it's going to be easier to train people or AI?
I think the concern is that there's certain people that are going to be training the AI, which are then going to be training the people. And I had been told not to get into like societal political issues, but I think seeing what's happening in the world at the moment, we need to make sure that people aren't hoodwinked into thinking and doing certain things, and actually continuing to use their own brains to implement the way that the society and the workplace, just bring it back to workplace, should be. And that's one of the concerns I think we've got.
Yeah. I think workplace is that replication and reflection of society and vice versa. I thought it's quite hard to separate the two, in my opinion. It's many things that are politicised and start in the workplace. If you look back, can you believe it was 5 years ago when lockdown started?
We were just discussing that.
what happened? I know the last year's gone quick, but 5. And I just think the amount of politics and things that have come into workplace and facilities in the last 5 years, it's been really interesting. I think it's only going to be getting worse. I'm going to say worse is the word. Have we got any questions for the audience that you want to ask the panel? Just now I'm not talking a lot. I think that's Sarah up there.
It's actually, I'm sorry, I know this is a really boring question, and it has to come up now, the generational thing. You know, I'm at one end of the spectrum. My new colleague, who I'll embarrass by pointing at, is 23. We're working together, and occasionally she's trying not to sort of, you know, widen her eyes when I show that I'm slightly confused about how to post something on LinkedIn. And I think when it comes to AI in the workplace, talking to some of the FMs that are on our editorial steering committee, some of them are great, they know what's going on, they're on board, and others are frankly terrified. So I just want to get the panel's view on that, because that's another form. I wouldn't say it's a discrimination or just diversity thing, but it is an issue when you've got 5 generations working now in the workplace.
Yeah, I think the digital divide with AI actually can grow bigger than where we are now. And, you know, even things that are, you know, even car parking, like there's car parking, often you can't use cash now. Well, older people might not have a phone to be able to do that. And so again, this is looking at how we upskill people and how we make sure that we're bringing everybody along on the journey. And likewise, you know, there often is a generational divide. But often there's really, you know, kind of older people that are brilliant at digital and younger people that aren't. And so actually it's just making sure that people are upskilled.
I think it's happening, there's a flip as well, and I see with my children who are young adults that they're absolutely fantastic on a technology interface, but if you ask them to, I don't know, ring the garage to find out about a tyre or something, they're just like, oh my God. You know, the idea that they might have to phone someone or go in and speak to somebody, they're really uncomfortable about that. And it's almost, there's a lot more anxiety, I think, about personal transactional things, and that if they've got a problem with their train ticket or something and you say, well, you can ask at the station, at the ticket office, they really don't want to do that, whereas we would probably not have any problem in my generation of doing that, and lockdown forced us to get up to speed with some of the apps. So I think we did have that kind of accelerating there, but there's still some quite worrying statistics, aren't there, about the number of older people that aren't online, that don't have Wi-Fi, that can't do things like pay for their parking, and don't know how to do it, don't have a smartphone, can't learn how to use one at the age that they're at, don't want the package. You know.
Go on, Martin.
And to interject.
Yes.
As the token older person on the panel, I don't believe in this age divide thing over technology. I think there's an economic divide. You're talking about people who haven't got money, who haven't got smartphones. You know, remember, you know, we had our first cell phones, I know because I was working for the company, back in 1985. This is not new technology. Our generations were there before PCs, before calculators. We've dealt with more technological change than any of the younger people in the room. And I really don't think that's the issue. The issue is economics. You know, we assume the people of, we assume that people, it is said, you know, there's this stereotype that the old people haven't got smartphones and can't use an app. No, it's poor people who haven't got smartphones and can't use apps. A lot of the poor people are poor, you know, don't get this started on winter heating allowance. Anyway, that's.
Can I add to that as well? And you know, bringing it back to FM, actually with this AI, it does cost a lot of money to bring it in. So are we going to see this big divide between companies that can bring it in and companies that can't? Or are people going to switch their budgets from people-focused things to AI-focused things? Because we all know margins are pretty low in the industry. So I think the money kind of thing on a personal perspective, but also a company perspective, could also be creating that divide.
Yeah. Is there anybody from the supplier side that would like to add?
Thank you, Sharon. You picked up on the second half of the point I was trying to make when I lost my words. That's why we can hear from these big service providers talking about connecting all of their workforce, and they don't, because the part-time cleaner who's cleaning the local chip shop isn't given a mobile phone or a tablet by their employer. They don't have any connection. Vast majority of the frontline workers in FM are not connected into the data activities of the organisation. Again, bottom end of the scale, frontline workers, minimum wage, it's the economics that's the issue.
Just before Deborah steps in, is there anybody from the service provider side that'd like to add anything to that around how you're using AI but still balancing that with people or not?
I think the reality is when you're making any level of transformational change, when we set about the change that we were doing, we didn't really know about digital transformation. We really did start with those problems. And what really took us the time to deliver that level of change was the engagement with people. I know last year's conference was about the symbiosis of tech and people, and we've been living that reality for the last 8 years. So our teams have all had their fingerprint on what our processes look like going forward now, automated or otherwise. Now, you know, we're in an M&E maintenance business, so by comparison to the cleaners that Martin was talking about, these are highly paid, typically skilled tradespeople who do have the devices that we're talking about. So whether it's the field or the hub, in terms of our business, and we're an SME, you know, we spend a lot of money. And to be honest, whatever budget you set and whatever time frame you think, it's going to cost you more, and it's going to take longer than you think, because there's no quick fix in this.
Yeah. Is there anybody from SBFM in? Is Matt here?
Yeah, hi, Mark Fenn here, Product Director at SBFM. Relatively new to the FM sector and wasn't here last year, so really excited to be a part of this. In terms of the award last year and how we've leveraged AI, a large amount of that has been focused on the front line. So kind of specifically building out an application called Flex, which supports literally our frontline operatives. You know, it's about scale, but it's also about the people. And I think we've heard a lot of examples today as to kind of use cases and how that's being used for people and putting, you know, people first. So a lot of that is around chatbots and getting answers to people quickly. Some of that is also around providing links and support to additional money-saving tips, financial advice, and also kind of access to a learning and training directory. Most of that from the app itself. But AI does sit within that framework to bring a lot of that information together in a consumable way for frontline people, and again, serving that challenge of multi-language that we see in the frontline.
It was more just around what Lucy said around, you know, the parking, and that now you can't pay with cash, can't pay with a card, you need to use your phone and use the app, which of course opens us up to huge amounts of fraud. And that's, you've seen it, it happened to me, somebody, you know, you take the QR code, but actually the QR code isn't actually for the parking lot, and they end up taking £1.20 out today and then £25 out tomorrow. And I think that's what has us all worried, isn't AI. It's that the advancement of the technology is moving at a rate which isn't unheard of. I mean, it happens all the time, but it's moving faster than compliance and governance. And, you know, we've already learned about the first technological murder where people have taken over lifts and let the lift go. There's a great show on BBC right now around how they can tap into CCTV camera and recreate what you're seeing, so that people are being prosecuted wrongly and wrongly convicted because they have overridden the existing formula. So I think, AI, technology, machine learning, I'm in the same age bracket as Martin up there, but I'm excited about technology, but I'm also terrified because I can't see the governance. I'm not seeing, and you talk about your kids, Lucy, my kids, I saw this really cute video online and, they were helping the polar bears and I was all excited and my daughter goes, it's fake. And I was like, what do you mean it's fake? It can't be fake. This is really humanitarian. This is beautiful. It's fake, Mom. It's AI. And she could see it instantly and I couldn't see it.
Yeah.
So maybe it's just learning. We're learning. I don't know.
We did see one of the things that we've noticed, there's a bit of a trend over the last year or so where we're evaluating tenders at large, is we're seeing tender responses that have really clearly been written by ChatGPT, for example. I mean, Hannah, who's here with her forensic science qualifications, can spot them. She's got that uncanny nose. But that's quite a worrying thing, because actually if you're asking AI to say what is the model answer to this question, rather than what can your company do, then the evaluation becomes a bit more of a test of, is that a real answer, rather than let's talk about the answer that you've given. So we think there's going to be an interesting approach there where it might start to, I don't know what Pascal would think about this as well, about how you actually police the use of that in responding to documents and developing documents that you're then going to commit your organisation to delivering later when they've been imagined by a bot.
Yeah.
It's the 2025 version of cutting and pasting from an old bid.
There was an example that I heard of a few months back, which was a few FM companies were tendering for the same customer, and they'd all use a form of AI. And of course, they all submitted the same answers, slightly evolutionised because they'd all learnt from each other's answers. So heads up.
It's the same with recruitment, though, isn't it? There's people using AI to submit their CVs and covering letters, and actually people want to know about the people, not what ChatGPT has told you about them.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
This takes us back to that need for some humanity and applications that are the applications we need. Lucy's point about the business benefit. I can access and do play around with ChatGPT and things to do some lovely drawing and write some rubbish poems, which I could do much better than the computer can. But what it doesn't do is the laundry or the washing up or the weeding.
Oh, I wish it did.
I think just to add to that, it's definitely down to education. So are you taking the time to inform yourself and learn about what's out there? I mean, I don't know how many of you are connected to me on LinkedIn, but Simone, would you say that my content is ChatGPT?
No.
It is. It is.
Watch out for them rockets.
So I think the difference is that, adding on to what Martin said, I'm using ChatGPT as a tool,
Yeah.
but I'm taking the time afterwards to not just copy and paste,
Yes.
but making sure that it's me. And all of that content is from my own GPT,
Yeah.
so it's something that I've trained,
Yeah.
I've given it my writing style. When it makes a mistake, I'm teaching it to do better next time. It's a continuous effort, unfortunately. Just like anything in our careers, we have to learn, we have to research, tap into those generational wealth that came before us, and making sure that it's learning from that the whole time. That's how I do it. Yeah. That's how I can keep up with life, not being able to do everything myself.
Yeah. I'll come to Andy next, and we've got Mark as well that's got a mic in his hand. Go on.
I think something that I think the industry is missing as a whole at the moment. I don't think it's so much about AI. I think a lot of people have spoken about data. I appreciate something we've visited here in the past, but I think the industry is not. If I went back to my old proper job that I used to have, as I describe it, and I was an ops director, I'd be looking now and going, how can I get my people trained on data and how to use it? And the industry is not, no one is providing that. If you look at the construction industry, you can join a free course at Cranfield University. They talk about digital twins. talk about what you can do. You can sign up to these courses. They do weekly calls showing you best-in-class examples. We're not seeing that for workplace and FM at the moment, and I think that's something that's really missing. And if we were to be able to go down that route, have that training for our people at lots of different levels, so level 2 through to a level 5, 6, 7, I think that would help us hugely and help overcome some of the challenges we face in day-to-day FM and workplace at the moment, where we haven't got enough skilled people. There's the age profile is going north, not south, and we would have that perhaps a bi-directional thing where experienced FMers are helping nurture people who are very good at the younger end of the scale with data, almost a reverse mentoring thing, and it works both ways. I think there's something the industry's crying out for at the moment. Nobody's really providing it.
Yeah. I think as well with the data, you've got to know why you need it and what to do with it, which then you get the balance of maybe the older kind of generation, more experienced people in FM that then go, right, let's... Yeah. Question for Andy?
Yeah, it's not a question, it's more of a clarification. So we were talking about ChatGPT and being able to detect and so forth. This isn't new. We've seen every time we bring a new technology out, there's a threat. It gets used in a way it wasn't intended. You know, if we saw the people in the audience that are old enough, remember that when we first started doing computers, we used to run them without antivirus. It was normal. Now, if you say that to a younger person, they'd be like, well, really? Why would you do that? That's madness. So if you look at, say, ChatGPT, like last year I looked at writing an article, and then I went to an AI detection bot to say, did ChatGPT write this? And he went, yes, 100%, it wrote it. So I went back to ChatGPT and I said, can you rewrite it so it can't be detected? And it went, oh, that's you've written that ChatGPT didn't. I did it a month later and it went, no, ChatGPT still did it. So the same with fake videos, the same with fake content. It will be exactly the same thing. When the internet came out, it was abused. My daughter, when she submits her homework, goes to a thing to make sure that she's not doing plagiarism, right? It's exactly the same. That would be built into our technologies as we go forward so we can detect and advise and guidance. Part of the reason 20 minutes is difficult to talk around the whole context of a subject, but awareness is key. If you're aware of viruses, when a virus detection comes out, you'll go, we need that. If you're not aware of it, that's part of the problem. So I think sessions like today are really, really important. So just wanted to add that context for you.
Probably got time for one more question from the audience. Over here. While we're waiting for the mic to get round, I'll tell you a funny story. Because of COVID, I had to teach my nan how to use Zoom. And I got her some Alexa plugs because she nearly fell over unplugging the Christmas tree lights a couple of years ago. I went to her house the other week and she's got rid of her landline. And I was like, yes, we're making progress. She is on her way. And I said, oh, I tried ringing you. Was you out? And she went, oh, I don't take my mobile phone out with me. She said, you what? I thought we were making progress here. And she said, bloody user today, they'll have it out of my hand. So there you go. Don't be scared of the AI, you're scared of the use.
I used to work in Dubai and we had a company looking after a big mall. And we want to embrace AI, technology and everything else. So we put sensors in rubbish bins, so when they got to 50% full, the cleaner was deployed. We gave everybody a Google Watch linked to a big call centre. So if there's a spill, we could send a cleaner. And the technology made the cleaner go to that spill. The reality of life is that people, the residents, used to put cardboard boxes in the bins, so the bins didn't sensor. The cleaners used to share watches and get back on the bus and go back to the camp, so you always thought the cleaner was stuck in one toilet. So all I'll say is the human element has got to come into all of AI.
That's a good note to probably end on there. Is there anything else just before we end? Anything you want to add?
No, I was just going to say about the human element, which has come through all morning about us working together with AI. I think it's just really important. If we don't have the skills to use AI, then it's not going to be worked to its proper benefit.
Yeah. Anything for you, Martin? What you want to add?
I just have one more point, which you can debate over lunch rather than debate it now, but we've had speakers who warn about the environmental impact of AI, the carbon impact of those data cards. People warn about it. We've had people telling us about how much AI is going to improve their bottom line. Where's the bit in the middle again, you know? Is anybody in the room actually tracking their carbon impact of their AI initiatives? And is it being taken into account in your net zero challenges?